Folks, in this video, I'm going to show you how to do a recoding of a variable when one of your categorical variables in two-way MANOVA or two-way ANOVA need to be recoded. So here we have our two-way ANOVA syntax open. Our two variables are education and sex. So let's pretend that we've already done this beginning syntax here. I'm going to go to the syntax on line 22. And what I've done is I'm now going to run frequencies for my two categorical independent variables. That's education and sex. I've typed in the variable names exactly as they're spelled in SPSS in the data file. Let's look at that. Let's look at the data file. Here's sex, it's spelled SEX, exactly like that. Here's education, it's spelled EDUC. We have to spell it exactly as it's spelled in SPSS or the syntax won't work. And so let's go ahead and run those frequencies to get to know our data. And here we see that education has 5 categories: 61 freshmen, 54 sophomores, 159 juniors, 105 seniors, 15 grad students. We have one student that's miscoded, and then we have missing for 30 students. So we're going to keep that in mind. We have all those categories. We really only want our categorical variables in two-way ANOVA to only have 2 categories. So hold that thought. Now we're going to look at our sex variable. We have 142 males and 279 females. So probably what we're going to want to do is recode education into 2 categories. So this is giving us some ideas about how we might want to do that. But before we make that decision, let's go back to our syntax file, and we're going to run a crosstab. We want to look at education by sex, and we want to see, okay, how big are each of our cell sizes? So here what we've done is we've run a crosstab. Here's all of our education categories going down in the rows. Here's our male and female categories going across in the columns. And basically we're looking to see at each of these individual cell sizes. Some of them are quite small. For the percentages, these are percentages of the total. We would like each of these cell sizes to be a minimum of either 30 cases, so we have 22 freshmen who are male. It's a little bit lower than we would like, or we would like it to be at least 20% of the total. So we see that some of these are kind of low. So we want to combine these categories. So how do we do that? So first, we look at our data set, and we look at education, and I write this down on a piece of paper next to me. 1 equals freshman, 2 equals sophomore, 3 equals junior, 4 equals senior, 5 equals grad student. And then I have that on a piece of paper next to me, and I go back to my output file, and we say, okay, let's look at our frequencies. What can we combine? So we can look at our individual frequencies and also look at our crosstab. We need to combine categories here. So if we were to combine freshman and sophomore and junior and senior, we might have big enough categories. We have to ask ourselves conceptually, do we think grad students are going to behave in the same way on your dependent variable as, let's say, juniors and seniors? If we're not sure, we can eliminate grad students. And that's what we're going to do, because we think that juniors and seniors will probably behave the same way on our dependent variable as will freshmen and sophomore. So we're going to recode freshman and sophomore into group 1, freshman, sophomore, it's going to equal 1. And we're going to recode juniors and seniors into a group that equals 2. So how do we do that? We go to transform, recode into a different variable, and the variable that we're going to recode is education. So we click that into the variable we're going to recode. We give it a new name. I always say RC education. So I know it's a recoded education, and I just type recoded education into two groups. That's exactly what I'm going to do. Then we click on our old and new variables, and we start going through our values. So we can say for freshman and sophomore, and I've got my codes written down on a piece of paper next to me, 1 equals freshman, 2 equals sophomore. I'm going to make that 1. That's going to be group 1. For juniors and seniors, 3 equals juniors, 4 equals seniors. I'm going to make that group 2. So group 5 used to be grad students. I'm going to make that missings because I don't want to include them in the analysis. I'm going to click add. I also want all my data that's already missing, I still want it to be missing. So I'm going to add that as well. SPSS is putting it in the order that it wants it. You can type these groups in any order. SPSS will take care of that for you. I'm going to click continue. I could click either paste or OK. I'm going to click OK, and then I'm going to look at my data set, and it has created that variable. Right now I'm in variable view. It's created it here at the end. When I look at data view, it's created it at the end of the data set. But here I have to go back into variable view, and under values I have to tell it that a value of 1 equals freshman or sophomore, and then I'm going to add, and a value of 2 equals junior or seniors, say juniors or seniors, and I add, I click OK. So now I know what those values mean, and so does SPSS. I'm going to take out my decimal points. We don't need them. I'm going to save my data set, and now I'm going to go back to my syntax file. I'm going to rerun my crosstab by renaming the education variable recode education. I'm going to rerun it here, and here in my crosstab, here I now have my 4 cells. I have 39 males who are freshmen or sophomore. So that's greater than 30. It's not 20%, but that's okay. I can go with that. I have 76 females who are freshmen or sophomore. That's greater than 20%. I have 93 males who are juniors or seniors, greater than 20%. That's good. I have 171 females who are juniors and seniors, and that's greater than 20%. So that's how I've now recoded my education variable into 2 categories for my two-way ANOVA, and now on my syntax file, I'm going to use RC, recode education, in the rest of my syntax. I'm going to use my sex variable, which is already 2 groups, and I'm all set to run my two-way ANOVA. I hope this was helpful. Please don't hesitate to email me with any questions.